that's kind of where we are. So you could, if you want to, you could hold on to these dollars. If you wanted to, these next ones that are coming in, it's completely up to you. And I know we haven't gotten into a lot of discussion on that, but that's kind of where we are.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes, sir. If you go back to the previous screen, Mr. Reyes, you mentioned that most of our shovel-ready projects would be funded with 0% interest loans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Are you assuming that we're gonna be using all the money that we get on just design fees, engineering fees, all that kind of stuff? And my real question is, what plan do you have and your departments have to secure some of these loans, forgiveness, and grant opportunities?
Part of what we're doing right now is, of course, making sure we're keeping up with the agencies and what they're doing, the state agencies and federal agencies. And we're working with the engineering group, particularly CDM Smith on the water, wastewater side, and we're working with Young and Associates on the drainage side. So what we need to do on that end, part of what we're doing is as we see these dollars being allocated, make sure that we're in line and able to identify projects. So that's what we're doing as far as understanding, what projects are gonna be funded and what part would come to us. I'm trying to get to a point where we're somewhat prepared to be able to ask for these dollars and say, this is our need. I think we've done a decent job on the drainage side. I think we could still do some more work on my opinion, on the water and wastewater side. Simply because, there's just so many projects that can be done. It's just a matter of not enough dollars, right? Sometimes if we can show them, at least identify projects, one, preferably design the project, and all we would do is construct. But we have other projects that I have in mind as far as, I don't know if we want to get into them tonight, as far as what we could potentially do with some of the funding. But yes, to answer your question, some of that I'm still recommending that you continue to design some of these projects. Because at the end of the day, whether you do it with this money or money that you get from any of these agencies, it's still got to get done. So there's no way around design. There's just no way.
So is it possible to have designs but not be able to get funding for them? That's
It is. I will say this, and again, that's something that challenges is you may have a design and have it sit on the shelf. However, on the other end is you may be asked to have a design and you don't have it. The challenge we have right now is again not knowing in essence what some of these agencies are going to do and what projects they're going to look to fund. All I've heard and we've understood is be prepared, have your projects ready. And what I mean, they mentioned shovel ready, and when I say shovel ready is have your design. But I don't think there's a guarantee that you're going to get. I would love to get grants for a good chunk of this. But I would settle for loan forgiveness. I would take that in a heartbeat. But anyway, that's
Yes, Councilwoman Reyes.
Crystal, can you go back to the other slide, the one right before this one? Yeah, that's it. So you answered a few of my questions with Julian's question.
okay.
So on the master plan and the drainage plan, that was my question, was are we needing some more improvement with that to utilize the 282,000 to make sure it's.
I think you've done a great, honestly, that idea was a great idea. And, I think we were ahead of it. I didn't even know there was, whenever this was done, there wasn't even a discussion, to my knowledge, of a state plan. But as we started listening to the Governor Abbott, I think, he signed this at the last legislative session. And so what they're doing again is they're meeting with all of the counties and saying, okay, what's your plan? How are you going to address drainage? And then once they do that and they come up with a plan, which is 2023, then they're going to, my understanding is they're going to disperse those dollars, but you have to show a need.
Okay, so with that being said, because I've been with this drainage plan for many years,
Yes,
and it's very costly, and I'm glad we're at where we're at today, because without a drainage plan, without a master plan, we're not able to apply for grants. And we're not able to get that 0% interest or the forgiveness loans
Right.
without these plans. So that is very, very important. I'm glad that we got that. With the remaining funds of the 282, that since we've already know what these agencies, the USDA, Text dot what they have released those funds for.
Yes, ma'am.
If we could go back and use those funds for what they've already approved, that we don't have to go out and get a loan for it, to utilize the 282,000, and then come back and concentrate on the 1.3 million that's coming back, and kind of brainstorm, since you're keeping up with what USDA, what they're probably more or less going at,
Yeah.
and what the need of our city is.
Right.
So what we need to do to go after with that 1.3 million, because we can't have it sit there. You know, we jumped on this really fast as a council, which is very, you know, that's wonderful. But we need to see, this is the time that we're gonna benefit, and the taxpayers, we're gonna take the burden off the taxpayers, and that's what this relief is for. So if we can just go back for that 282,000 and see one of these that we know could use more work with, to go back and utilize it.
We could utilize, we can do some construction work with the remaining 282. What I'm saying is, I get it, you know, sometimes people say, well, you know, you're putting stuff on paper, but where's the actual work, right? Part of what we can do is what we, I need to get with our public works director on some things, but there are some needs that we can address as far as construction that we probably should do.
And then at the next meeting, if you can bring to the council what, the needs and that we really need to do to make this city go forward with infrastructure.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could bring it to us next meeting so we can consider what our options are, and we can start brainstorming how to use that 1.3 million.
Council, is there any other questions? Anybody else? All right, thank you very much, Fred, very informative, update on our ARP funds. All right, moving on, item 7, this is a consent agenda. This is improvements of the approval of the March 8th, 2022 meetings. I'll take a motion in a second.
Second.
I have a motion. Who made the motion? Tonya, second by Brenda. It is a consent agenda item, so if there's any corrections or additions, I'll hear them now. Otherwise, I'm gonna call for a vote. Do you have a comment?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Hernandez?
I forget which one it was, but, we were discussing, we're trying to outline some things that were gonna be done by the architectural people. And you mentioned the Civic Center and so forth and so forth. But we also mentioned as a group that we'd like to have the restrooms at Pueblo Patino done, and it's not in the notes here.
Oh, yeah, it's on H.
You're
It's on
right.
H.
You're right.
Okay, Mayor.
It needs to be stated in the notes, because we do need to get those restrooms.
That's which item is that, Councilmember Hernandez?
It's H, I believe.
And the civic center.
Well, the rest is in there already.
Okay,
It's
so
just,
we're the,
It's in there, I saw bathroom,
okay,
at the United.
yeah.
that is, doesn't say specifically Pueblo Patino.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for an amendment to our motion and our second to include Councilman Hernandez's corrections to item H, 8H, in the March 8th minutes. We have a motion and a second with that amendment. Is that, okay? We have again, first by Sonia, second by Brenda. There with that so noted, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the secretary. Moving on to item 8A, new business, discuss and consider authorization of city manager to enter into a contract with Albert Martinez, DBA Motor Mouth Entertainment, for event coordinator services for the second annual Hispanic Heritage Festival. This is an action item. I'm gonna call for a motion in a second.
Motion.
There is a motion by Councilman Leal. There is a second by Councilwoman Hernandez. At this point, we'll invite Mr. Albert up to discuss. You should have a copy of his presentation, which outlines the expenses, and we're gonna turn the floor over to Albert.
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Manager, Mayor, Council, good evening. Thanks for having us again. I wanted to start with just a comment. Earlier, Mr. Reyes had given me the estimated expenses that I had given y'all for the first one. I kind of wanted to start off with, I hope there's no confusion with the very first one for the first annual versus the second annual. The first one was just estimated, expenses, not the final, expense spreadsheet that was given to y'all, I believe a month or two after the actual festival. I just don't want y'all to get confused with the figures that were given to y'all from the final spreadsheet to the ones that I just turned in.
But you have, those are all budgeted. The actual expenses, you weren't given a copy of that, this packet, but those weren't actual, those are just budgeted numbers for 2021.
Which are estimated, just, so if anybody has any questions, please,
I'll open the floor, council. Do you have any questions for, Mr. Martinez?
I don't have my paper because I came yesterday, I haven't been home.
I think I noted, there's like a $20,000 more than last year.
yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it is. And if I may,
Go ahead.
the reason for that, I've, the last two festivals that were held at Polo Patillo, which I feel were very, very successful, I think that we're at the level where the attendance is increasing. So I've created a plan to where I feel that maybe it's time to move it maybe to the convention center, the civic center, for the ample parking. And I'm working really hard to try to get a carnival to try to make this year's a little bit, as I call it, going to the next level, which, we're there. So yes, sir. I would like to note that I feel that it's time that we have a small charge for this event, which I'm thinking about a $5, which of course would be refunded back to you guys for that. We don't keep any of that or nothing. That is returned back to the city.
If you look at page 49, you can see a little diagram, I don't know if you've been able to, diagram of how having that at the civic center, how that would look.
There's, Warwick, Albert, I've got a few questions. Typically in these festivals, there is, concessions paid to the developer.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
And promoter, and so Carnival typically kicks in, alcohol sales, gates, so what is that gonna be, so we understand, what kind of return we can expect versus, understand you're doing this to make money as well, and that's part of the equation.
Well, my fee is already included.
Okay,
Just so you know.
so alcohol sales,
The vendor keeps, the beer sales, but we donate 20% back to the city, which I believe last year we gave back $2,500 to you.
okay, and that, so you don't get any revenues from the vendors, from the gates, from the carnivals?
The agreement that we normally do is that the promoter, which is me, the vendor, I keep, the fees for that and just my fee. But the beer sales goes to the vendor. If we do get a carnival, whatever money they generate and they give back, because I normally understand that they do give back some kind of a percentage, I'll be donating that back to you as well, to the city.
It would probably be good to get an estimate of what the city's gonna get returned through that. In other words, do we have anything that shows, what your expectations are with?
That's a very hard question to answer, one, because I can't guarantee that there'll be a carnival, and number two, I don't know exactly what, what, they're gonna stipulate in their contract, whether they are in fact giving anything back to the city.
Mayor,
So it's hard to answer that question.
Okay,
I,
all right, Councilman.
I think what he was asking was, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, is he's wanting an estimate amount of what we're probably gonna get like at the gate.
Well,
Plus-
yeah, just so that you guys have the
Okay,
idea of the council.
so, I was gonna say like the number of attendees from the
Mhm.
last festival, if you times that by 5, but I don't know if you were counting children with the wristbands as well with the adults, that when you were taking account of people going in, cause I don't know if you're willing on just charging the adults only,
I was actually thinking 12 and under for free.
okay.
Uh,
So when your numbers that you gave us, that how many people showed up to the festival, was that included with kids?
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so it'll be, you would have to maybe do a percentage, cause you don't really know how many kids came in and how many adults
Yes,
came
ma'am.
in.
No, the purpose for the wristband was to get a count for you all, to give you all an idea of how many people really attended the actual festival. Keep this in mind that, there could be a slight decrease in attendance because of now that there's a $5 charge, or it could be the same or it could be more. We have designed a pretty, big festival, so I'm pretty confident that it's gonna be, but to give you the exact amount of what I expect back in return through the the fee to get in. That's very hard to answer, because I can't tell you how many people will actually get in.
So you said that, just to clear up, you get revenue from what specifically?
I get paid with two places, my fee from the city, and then the vendor spots. That's what I do. Other than that, everything is generated back to you.
And council, again, this is proposed to go out to the convention center. So I know that last year was, the west side, successful. I know in the days when we were doing the Potato Fest, it was,
Farming.
out there so that
Yeah.
we could have a carnival.
The
And
whole
that's, that tendency to really kind of draw more kids. But anyway, Councilman Hernandez, you have a question?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we're gonna be doing the charging, could they be two different colors of tags for the adults and the children? That way we can still have a count.
Yeah, we could do that, and of course, there'd be a different count for, a different wristband color for each day.
Yes.
One color for Saturday and one color for Sunday, that way people don't come back with the same wristband on Sunday and say, I already paid.
Yeah,
You know.
I'm just saying, just
Mayor.
to keep the count.
Councilman Leal?
Albert, do you think in my opinion, the Civic Center is pretty small, if you want to bring carnival? Do you think, maybe tossing up the idea of doing it at the complex where there is parking, we could use the soccer field as a place of a stage? And we could do the carnival there, do the stage over here by the softball field behind it. We have cleaned that area so we don't have that eyesore there no more.
Saw that.
And then, we have the baseball fields where we could actually either use that for parking or a
For the
carnival.
festival.
Yeah, so, in my opinion, not only is it closer to the city, but it's right off of 35. And then you also got all the hotels on this side.
Yes, sir.
I just think that the Civic Center might be a little too small, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the complex, we can build that to where, and you could also have a softball tournament,
Sure.
or a baseball tournament.
We did have, when I was mayor, we had a 4th of July celebration there.
Uh-huh.
And it was really nice that we did right there on the football area. The people parked in the back towards the baseball.
Yeah, and we also, I believe at one time, we rented a piece of land from Roy for parking as well in the front.
Okay.
Because he owns the right hand side, right, or as you enter the left?
You know-
It's just an idea thrown
No,
out there.
no, and by all means, I totally appreciate that. Honestly, I wouldn't rule it out yet. The only problem is that by going out there and just visioning, that area is not fenced in. There's absolutely no power. So I actually just budgeted what I felt was gonna be needed for the Civic Center,
Got it.
because it's gated. And
Do our
to-
city cops service that area, or is that out of city limits?
It's city limits.
Yeah, it's out of city limits, but I think it has
ETJ.
security. and
I-
stuff.
Yeah, we'll hire an outside agency for security.
Those people can't vote
But
out
that's
there.
part of the ETJ, if not, didn't we annex it?
I don't think so. I don't
Those
think it's
people
in the
can't
city
vote.
limits, but
All those people out there, they can't vote for the city.
I don't think it's in.
Business 35 was.
It was annexed? Okay. I just thought maybe it was in the ETJ.
And, Mr. Councilman, Mr. Ladd, keep in mind that, I can't guarantee that, I'll get a carnival.
Yeah.
We are hitting May, by this time, we're actually a few months late in trying to get it, but I'm doing everything I can.
Maybe it's a thought for next year.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it all comes with budgeting for stuff like that, The power is very expensive, just, if you look at what I proposed on this one, I had to budget a little bit for generators and,
Right.
I don't know if y'all are seeing the actual, map that we had created for y'all, but, one side would have the carnival, the other side would have the staging. We wouldn't use the
So if you
pavilion.
don't do the carnival, you're still gonna have it out there?
Yes, ma'am. Well, considered yes, because of the fact that the parking. I think our attendance speaks for itself. I honestly don't know where everybody parked last year. I think for the most of y'all were pretty much there. And I was overwhelmed. I did not, I anticipated, I just didn't think we were gonna see it. And where everybody parked, I don't know, I had Father Camacho tell me the next day, he goes, I thought I overslept and missed the mass because of all the people that were parked in the parking lot. So,
Well, we have a rental property there on Davila,
uh-huh.
and I don't know, we have two tenants there, and I don't know which one of them, but they were charging for parking.
Yes, ma'am,
We have
I
a
totally,
huge- They just a section back there, and there was cars, and they were paying to get back
I
there.
totally love that, and I saw a lot of people, as soon as that we had announced it, they started cleaning up yards, cleaning up driveways, and they were paying, I'll tell you what I'd do, instead of walking 4 blocks to it, I'd pay that $20 or 10, whatever they were charging to,
They do that at
plus they got to
AT&T
sit outside
Center.
and, the what?
They do that at the AT&T
Oh,
Center, the house is
yeah.
on there.
Well, council, this has some, could have some flotation to it as we kind of move along, and this is a big increase from last year, pretty substantial. This does come from hotel and field tax, which the